I wrote suspects at the top of the legal pad page. Let's write down the name of everyone we know who might possibly be connected with this. Well, there's you and me. Cut it out, guy. You said everybody. I shrugged. Okay, I wrote down our names. After that, our list grew rapidly. Mark Kruger, Guy Messerschmidt, Cammy Craiglander, Sheila Stanford, Tony Stanford, teen cruisers, gangs, Peter Kruger, Doreen Kruger, Bob Craiglander, Bev Messerschmidt, Pauline Stanford, Jean Horton, Shirley Logan, Molly Wang, Dina Wentworth, Willie. Great, I said. Now let's check each of them for means, motive, and opportunity. Wait, what crimes are we looking at? All of them, or just the purse, or what? Good point. Let's make a chart to the right of the names. The stolen purse can be the first column. I'll put a Y for yes or N for no to indicate if the person is a suspect. Quickly sketched out a chart and labeled the columns: purse, restroom, banner, bench, pantry. Put in a column for anonymous calls, said Guy. That's sort of a crime, too, to spread bad PR about the hamlet. Great. I added the additional column. Okay, purse. You and I and Cammy are eliminated on that one. We were in school. Aunt Sheila, he said. She was at her dad's. Remember, she and Tony arrived on the bus. Right. That knocks out Tony, too. Teen cruisers, we can forget about. And probably the gangs. We have no evidence that the gangs have ever had anything to do with the center. Your dad was teaching at the college and your mom was at Moldy Bookie. Added, snickering wickedly. Out of habit, I gave him an absent-minded kick for mispronouncing the store's name. I made rapid ends. Cammy's dad was in his store. Your mom was in daycare. Pauline Stanford was at Mother Brown's. Mrs. Horton wouldn't steal her own purse. At least I hope not. Maybe if she wanted the money for herself. Nah. We've got to be fair about this, Mark. I massaged my neck muscles with my fingertips. This is hard work, but you're right. I'll put an M for maybe by her name. By Shirley Logan's, too. Come on, Guy. He stared at me solemnly. Mrs. Horton and Mrs. Logan was watching the center that day. And you know what my mom told me last week. What? Mom said that Shirley Logan was once in a mental institution for about a year and a half. You're kidding. Why? Mom wasn't sure, but she thought it had something to do with being a religious fanatic. Mom said Mrs. Logan thought God was talking to her directly, and she did some pretty strange things. How'd your mom find out? This is kind of confidential, I guess. She goes to Mrs. Logan's Bible study group once in a while, and Mrs. Logan was telling them about it. So you better put down an M for her. I put it down. Wow, I didn't know that. I mean, if Shirley Logan really thought she heard God talking to her, good point. Who's next? Molly Wang. She's a no, right? Better put an M just to be careful. Guy, you're too cautious. Do you want to do this right or not? I grinned. Let's do it right. But it's spooky making these major decisions about people we know. Then there's Dina Wentworth, M, a weak M, and Willie. Now there, I said earnestly, we've got our teeth into something solid. I'm going to put a strong Y beside his name. He's definitely suspect material. Now let's do it for the restroom signs column. We must have worked on the list for half an hour. When we were finished with all the columns, most of the people had M's by their name. This is tough, I said. My brain needs a break. Let's get out your Port Polly's Pantry Gang symbol photos and study them. I unlocked the desk drawer, pulled them out, and spread them under the gooseneck lamp. Look at these under the magnifying glass, Guy. He obediently peered through the rectangular lens. Okay, now what? Doesn't something seem strange to you? No. Look harder. He did so. I don't know what you're getting at. It's just jagged music-looking design. Just a second. I got up, ran downstairs to the bathroom, and returned with 5 or 6 paper towels. Try an experiment for me, okay? I spread out one of the paper towels on the desk and took a Sharpie medium point marker and quickly sketched the profile of a man's face. Now, I said, take this marker and draw that same picture onto another paper towel. I can't draw? Sure you can. Just do your best. Dubiously, he began to sketch the face. His marker paused several times while he studied the original. There, he finally said. It's not as good as you do, but you got what you asked for. Guy, I said excitedly, you've done it. Done what? Look at the photos and then look at your drawing. He glanced back and forth at them a few times. I give up, he finally said. Spell it out for me. Okay, I pointed to the photos. Look at how the gang symbol is drawn. Sort of jerkily. Dot to dot, he suddenly said. You said that when you saw them on the poor Polly's pantry wall. You said they were like dot to dot drawings, just like your sketch. He squinted down at the paper towel in front of him. You're right. It does look like dot to dot. But that was because his eyes suddenly opened wide. Say it, Guy. That was because I didn't know what I was doing. He said it softly. I'm not an expert sketcher like you are. Exactly. So you're telling me, he said, that whoever spray painted those gang symbols on Molly Wang's store wasn't in the habit of doing it. I'm not telling you, you're telling me. I grinned triumphantly. Look what you did with the marker. As you studied my sketch, you let your marker pause. And as your marker paused, it made blobs, dots, on the paper towel. If you'd been more confident at drawing, you wouldn't have made the blobs. Mark, stop. We've made a big mistake. What? The vandal wasn't using a marker. He was using a spray can. I slumped disappointedly. You're right. But wait, he said excitedly. The same thing would happen with the spray can. If the vandal was pausing to glance at maybe a sketch of the symbol, he might keep his finger on the button. And he'd get a blob. Good thinking, I shouted. He glanced down at the suspect list and the paper towels. You really ought to be putting all this stuff in your sketchbook, he said. Where is it? I glanced around the room. I must have left it downstairs by the cash register. Had my big Magnum marker on top of it. Ran downstairs. Mom, what did you do with my sketchbook and the marker? Nothing. I hadn't seen either of them. Guy helped me search through ye old bookstore from front to back, but the sketchbook had vanished. Somebody must have picked it up with a stack of books, Mom said. Did it have your name in it? Yeah. Someone will bring it back. Later, when Guy went home to supper, I wandered over to the London bus to think. I got the little door handle from the wheel well, fitted it into its slot, and turned it. As the door swung open, there on the driver's seat was my sketchbook, lying open. Using a heavy black marker, someone had scrawled a 5-word message across in it in staggering capital letters. Chill out, Sherlock, or else.